3 bone-chilling true hidden camera horror stories that haunt you. FREVR. The chill crawled down Jenna's spine as she clicked play on the video. The title on her screen glowed ominously, 3 bone-chilling true hidden camera horror stories that haunt you forever. Her heart raced, the air around her thickened like fog creeping into a hollow alley, wrapping her in its gripping embrace. The first image flickered a dim, abandoned playground, swings moving ever so slightly as if pushed by unseen hands. A distant creak sliced through the silence, and Jenna's breath hitched. This wasn't just a video, it felt like an invitation to disaster. Each story began innocently enough, weaving a seemingly benign narrative from the mundane aspects of everyday life. In the first tale, a family set up a hidden camera to catch their mischievous cat making chaos. But what they found was far from ordinary. Jenna leaned closer, her fingers tingling. The footage revealed the shadow of a figure lurking in the background, breathing heavy and raspy. The family laughed at the mischief of their furry friend, until they heard a soft whisper on the recording, "Get out." The laughter died in Jenna's throat. Her mind raced. Who was that? Why hadn't they heard it? As the video continued, tension coiled in her chest. The second story played out in a dimly lit suburban house. A couple had hidden cameras to capture their late-night antics during the eerie storm, but their giggles turned to screams when the camera caught glimpses of a pale face watching them from the kitchen window. The husband's expression twisted into confusion and fear as Jenna felt a lump forming in her throat. That was no prank. Who or what was watching them? Any sound in her apartment now felt amplified, echoing the anxiety tightening her chest. Just as Jenna thought she couldn't take any more, the narrator built up to the climax of the final story. It started with a seemingly harmless babysitter watching 2 kids in an old Victorian home. As the night wore on, the camera captured sinister shadows stretching across walls, whispers rising like steam from the floorboards. Jenna's heart thundered. The baby monitor crackled, mingled with soft laughter that turned to choking cries. Was that the kids? Or something far worse lurking behind the closed doors? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Jenna's pulse raced as the voiceover promised the ultimate twist, a revelation that made the hairs on her arms stand on end. The babysitter had been frantic, her eyes wild with terror as she discovered something, a hidden door behind the bookshelf, leading to a basement where dark secrets slept. Was she really in danger? Jenna found herself clutching her knees, feeling that desperate need to know. What lay behind that door? The video continued to play, but she gasped when another shadow darted just outside the frame, blurring her reality. The screen flickered ominously, making Jenna wonder if the moment of truth would come crashing into her world. She could almost hear the whispers. Jenna's heart pounded, each beat drowning out the distant sounds from the outside world. The video was drawing her in like a moth to a flame, but the unfolding dread tethered her, rooting her firmly in place. The narrator's voice, laced with suspense, dropped just above a whisper as the babysitter approached the hidden door behind the bookshelf. A bead of sweat trickled down Jenna's back. She could feel it, a tugging urgency as if something sinister was clawing at her very essence. If you think this story is frightening now, wait until you see what lies behind that door, the ominous voice echoed in her mind. Jenna leaned even closer, her breath shallow as shadows danced on the screen. The babysitter hesitated, her breathing growing erratic. Jenna's palms were sweaty against her stomach, her heart hammering in her chest like a drum. What could possibly be hidden down there? Suddenly, the baby monitor fizzled to life, drawing Jenna's attention as it wobbled on the nightstand. The voiceover faded into silence, and Jenna held her breath as the video plunged into tension-filled darkness. She watched wide-eyed, terrified of what might emerge. The babysitter flicked on her flashlight, and the beam shone on the door. Fabric strands of fear hung heavy in the air around her, and then it happened. A loud thump resonated through Jenna's apartment. The deafening sound jolted her from her trance, causing her to jump back in her chair. She spun around, scanning the shadows that loomed in her living room. Was it just her imagination? Or had something actually moved? The space felt smaller now, her anxiety blending with the creaking of the old building. She shook her head, trying to believe it was just the wind, but a chilling thought pierced through. What if the unseen terror of the video had somehow traveled into her reality? Back to the screen she had to know. The video continued, the babysitter's flashlight faltering against a set of stairs leading into the abyss. Jenna stifled a gasp as she leaned forward, eyes glued. The air grew thick, and an unsettling sensation filled her with dread. The child's laughter drifted again from the monitor, layered with a slithery whisper, "Come play." The babysitter's face fell as realization dawned. "No, not again," she cried, stumbling backward. As she turned to flee, it was too late. The screen erupted in a flurry of static as Jenna's heart felt like it would explode. The static echoed, manipulating her growing fear, whispering secrets she didn't want to hear. She squeezed her eyes shut for a moment, encapsulating the horror within. But as the static cleared, she opened them just in time to see something darting past the screen, shadows intertwining into something grotesque. Jenna gasped once more, fighting the urge to look away. Panic settled heavily in her chest. Instinct screamed for her to quit the video, to shut it down, but she couldn't. The lure of the unknown gripped her. What had happened to the babysitter? What had been captured in those fleeting frames? Then another thump echoed, this time louder, closer, vibrating through the ground as if something had taken hold of her apartment itself. Jenna shot her head toward the source. This wasn't part of the video. A soft creak emanated from her bedroom door, and every nerve in her body ignited with primal fear. She couldn't breathe. What was happening? Was she truly alone? Time seemed to freeze as she hesitated, trapped between horror unfolding on screen and something darker creeping into her space. What lurked in the shadows? What was waiting for her to make a choice? With shaking hands, Jenna reached for her phone, but something deep within told her to stay put. The screen flickered once more, and just as she took a breath the whispers grew louder, drowning out her fears. What are you waiting for? The words echoed not from the monitor, but from her own heart. Suddenly, the darkness at the edge of her room seemed to pulse, blurring the line between reality and screen. Jenna knew she had to find out. The moment of choice was upon her. What would she do next? Jenna felt the weight of the moment pressing down on her like a 1,000-pound stone. The whispers coiled around her, suffocating her thoughts. What awaited her in her bedroom? An echo of the horrors she'd just witnessed? A knot tightened in her stomach as the urge to flee battled with curiosity. In this moment, fear had transformed her into a statue frozen, paralyzed by the unknown. She slowly turned back to her phone, the video still pulsing with distorted images. "Come play." The words resonated in her mind like a sinister melody. Beneath her skin, adrenaline surged, urging her to do something, anything. She had to confront whatever lay in wait, or be consumed by it. Without thinking, Jenna set her phone down, the light illuminating half her face, casting eerie shadows that made her look ghostly. With shallow breaths, she stepped towards the bedroom door, each creak of the floorboards underneath her echoed painfully in her ears. Her heart beat a heavy rhythm as she clenched her fists, pushing the door open slowly, the hinges screaming in protest. In the dim glow of her room, everything looked normal. The bed was unmade, clothes scattered across the floor, nothing appeared out of place. But the air, thick with silence, felt wrong. It beckoned her to look deeper. Her eyes darted around like a trapped animal, hunting for signs of life amid the lingering shadows. Then, an inexplicable sensation washed over her. The hairs on her neck prickled as she felt that she was being watched, eyes lurking in the darkness. She hesitated, then lifted her voice, "Is anyone there?" The sound came out weaker than she intended, swallowed by the stillness, silence. Determined to push past her dread, she stepped further inside, but just then, a sudden crash from behind her caused her to whirl around. Jenna's breath caught again as she turned. She saw it. The baby monitor had flipped over, red light of the recording button flickering ominously. Just a falling object, she told herself, but self-reassurance was fading. Turning back to the room, her mind raced. "The video," she whispered. "I need to see the end of it." Jenna fumbled to grab her phone, the flickering screen illuminating her face in stark contrast to the encroaching darkness. She opened the video app with trembling fingers, scrolling rapidly to find where she had left off. The static came alive with an unsettling clarity. The babysitter's terrified face flickered on screen, eyes wide and filled with undeniable terror. "No! Get out of here!" she screamed, but it was too late. Jenna jolted as the figure from the dark corner of the screen leapt at the babysitter, but something else caught her eye. On the side of the frame, another shadow. It moved with a quick, stuttering motion, darting closer with each frame. Jenna squinted, desperate to make sense of it. "Stop! No!" she gasped, voice strained. Her heart felt like it was stuck in her throat, choking her as blaring truth danced on the edge of revelation. The ushering shadow was different, it looked familiar. Every instinct screamed for her to stop the video, but her fingers wouldn't obey. Then, the phone slipped from her grasp, crashing to the floor. The screen shattered, the final image of the babysitter's scream now etched in her mind forever. She dropped to grab the phone, collapsing directly onto a dark form sprawled under her bed, an unmistakable tuft of hair, a dim flash of a child's toy. Jenna's breath caught, her mind yearned to deny it, yet there lay evidence of something she had been avoiding. It felt as if the room had tightened around her, binding her with chains of nostalgia and dread. Her stomach churned. Was it possible? "Please, please, just be my imagination," she whispered, scrambling backwards in terror. But her eyes locked onto a small, worn-out teddy bear, its button eye glinting in the dim light like a promise and a curse. "It can't be," but the vibration of her phone interrupted her thoughts. Weakly, she grabbed it from the floor, blood pounding in her ears. As she turned the phone over, the screen flickered back to life violently, illuminating her shocked face. The video resumed, and the chilling narrator's voice slithered back, dripping with malevolence. "What are you waiting for?" Everything stopped, her reality collapsing around her as she realized the true horror of her situation. Behind her, the child's laughter wove through the air once more, unmistakably familiar. Jenna's heart dropped. How could this be? In that very moment, the mirror across the room cracked sharply, revealing a reflection not just of a terrified girl, but of something far worse lurking in the shadows. Was it too late to escape? Would she be claimed by the darkness that haunted her dreams? Or, was there a chance to confront the terror that had wormed its way into her home? The next choice loomed large before her, like a doorway left ajar. What lay waiting beyond it? Jenna's pulse thundered in her ears as she turned slowly to face the mirror. With each inch closer, shadows danced at the edges of her vision, taunting her sanity. The laughter behind her grew louder, playful, innocent, yet laced with a sinister undertone. Though she couldn't see the child, the sound seemed to ripple through the air like a chilling promise of what was to come. "Who's there?" Jenna's voice trembled, barely escaping her lips. No answer, just silence. Desperate to hold her ground, she reached out toward the mirror, its surface reflecting the panic etched into her features, mixing terror with determination. Then, a small, pale hand reached from behind the glass, fingers stretching out, desperate to break free. Jenna's breath hitched, and she stumbled back into her room, heart racing, fighting the primal urge to flee. It couldn't be real, could it? She blinked, trying to clear her mind, but the child's laughter morphed into a muffled giggle, echoing through the cramped room like a taunt. She needed to think. "Focus, Jenna, focus," she muttered, glancing at her shattered phone on the floor, still flickering ominously despite its broken screen. Grasping for any semblance of logic, she tore her gaze from the mirror. The teddy bear, its single button eye staring back at her, anchoring her to some semblance of the past. Feeling the weight of the strange moments pressing down harder, she sank to her knees beside the toy. "What do you want?" Her voice quivered, her chest tightened as she spoke, even though deep inside she yearned to tear it apart. Instead, she gripped the bear tight, desperate for comfort. Suddenly, the air thickened. A freezing wind swept through the room, flickering the lights overhead, casting giant shadows that stretched across the walls, distorted shapes that felt sinister and alive. Jenna shot back, her heart racing faster than ever. The hair on her arms stood as a shrill whisper began again, wrapping around her, pulling her closer to the confines of her fears. "Come play," the voice cooed, now echoing both from the past and the present, the sinister inflection weaving through her core, stirring up buried memories. She had heard that phrase before, but the source of it was slipping away from her grasp. Clenching her teeth, Jenna summoned her strength and shouted, "Stay away from me." Her words rang hollow against the vast silence, yet they acted like a trigger. The lights flickered again violently, and the laughter stopped abruptly. In that tense moment, she felt it a rush of adrenaline warning her to turn back now before it was too late. But even as her instincts screamed to run, Jenna glanced back towards the mirror, its surface glistening with her reflection. What parts of her life had brought her here? Questions she'd long buried begged for answers, and just like that, the mirror shattered, jagged edges flying like shards of glass, reflecting a warped reality. Through the broken pieces, she saw him, a silhouette standing at the corner of the room, grinning, blonde curls framing a cherubic face she had known, a ghost of her past come to taunt her. "Mommy." The child's voice chimed, eerily similar to the sound she had heard before. The innocence was hollow now, distorted by something darker. Panic surged in Jenna's veins as she realized this wasn't just a figment of her imagination. This was real. "You're not my child," she screamed, tears pooling in her eyes. But as the shadows around her began to swirl, the edges of reality split open, pulling her closer to the thing waiting on the other side. The teddy bear slipped from her fingers, landing softly on the floor. Breathless, Jenna stared into the abyss, terrified as the familiar child's laughter echoed again, mixing with the whispers growing louder. "Come play forever." Just as a frostbitten chill wrapped around her, a bone-chilling thought struck her: what if this was only the beginning? Summoning her last bit of courage, Jenna took one shaky step forward, ready to confront the darkness waiting for her and whatever it meant. What horrors would she uncover beyond this threshold? Her heart thundered as she stepped closer to the shattered mirror, the jagged edges reflecting not just her fear, but a promise of clarity that both terrified and compelled her. The room pulsed with energy, vibrating with her every anxious heartbeat. The laughter was gone now, replaced by a foreboding silence that filled every corner of her mind. With trembling hands, Jenna reached out, brushing the remnants of glass with the tips of her fingers. They were cold to the touch, sending a jolt of reality through her body. She half expected it to cut her, to drag her into whatever awaited behind the reflection. But instead, it was just a mirror, still, mundane, almost comforting. "Stop it," she yelled, voice breaking, frustration mingling with terror. "Show yourself." An echo responded, not from her own voice but from deep within the house. A creak, a thud, she could feel the walls pressing against her, pushing her deeper into her own dread. Each sound resonated, amplifying her fear, as if the house itself was alive, conspiring against her. Suddenly, a shadow shifted just outside the corner of her vision. Panic surged anew, and she spun around. Her breath hitched in her throat. She's not alone. There it was, a small figure, partially obscured in the dim light, standing just beyond the threshold of her room. "Come play." The voice sang from the child, soft yet laden with darkness. It felt as if the child were inviting her to cross a line, to step into a world where innocence twisted into wickedness. "Get away from me," she screamed, backing up against the wall. But the small figure didn't budge. It just stood there, swaying slightly, childlike yet unnervingly still, unbidden, memories flooded her mind, memories long buried. The park on a summer day, laughter ringing out as children played tag, until the sun dipped low and shadows stretched long, warnings unheard behind carefree giggles. Images of a child she wished she could free from the pain of their past flooded her mind until she felt dizzy with the weight of remembrance. "It's just a trick, a game," she muttered to herself, but doubt gnawed at her. What if it wasn't he? What if it was all true? "Mommy!" The figure called, laughter dripping with mockery, chilling her to her core. The light flickered again, flickering harshly like a strobe, and for a brief moment, Jenna swore she caught a glimpse of the child's face. The eyes, dark and hollow, stared back at her, pulling her into a sense of overwhelming dread. She fought the instinct to flee, planting her feet firmly. The child's laughter erupted, blending with her memories until she felt herself spiraling. What had she done to deserve this? Was it her fault? The questions burned. In a burst of resolve, Jenna stumbled toward the creature, searching for answers she didn't believe it possessed. "What do you want from me?" she cried, desperation lacing her voice. "Come play, Mommy." Forever the air thickened, coiling around her throat like a creeping vine, constricting her breath. With each word, the room darkened, shadows emerging from the corners and billowing toward her. She blinked, and the walls closed in further, the very reality beginning to dissolve. An image flashed before her, a memory of a forgotten smile, laughter that once warmed her heart, twisted into this cruel distortion of the past. Jenna gasped, eyes wide with realization. I can't lose you again." But the child's laughter, the voice thickening with something darker now, filled the air like a shroud. As darkness engulfed her, she felt herself being pulled into the shadows. The last vestiges of light flickered out, and a haunting whisper brushed her ear. "You've always known the truth," and then it was silent. What truth had she forsaken? What remained hidden in the darkest folds of her mind? A chill ran down her spine as Jenna sensed that this confrontation was far from over. What other shadows lurked, waiting to reveal their secrets? Jenna felt the weight of nothingness pressing in on her. It was as if she were submerged in a void where sound and light no longer existed. Panic threatened to swallow her whole. The shadows that had pulled her in were now just whispers, echoes of her fears, swirling around her like mist. "Fight it!" she screamed, though she wasn't sure whom she was shouting to. She could feel a spark deep within her, igniting just enough courage to push against the encroaching darkness. The memories swirled chaotically in her mind, a laughter that faded too soon, a face lost to time and pain. "Come play," the voice whispered again, this time sounding closer, trailing like smoke at her heels. With a sudden shudder, the dim light flickered back to life, illuminating her surroundings once more. But what greeted her was even more unsettling than the void. The room had transformed. The familiar walls were now covered in charcoal black scribbles, jagged lines spiraling into grotesque shapes. The shattered mirror remained, but now, beyond its glass, she could see movement. Figures darted around in the depths, twisted versions of past memories and moments, all wreathed in shadows. Their laughter was a cruel mockery, teasing her sanity. "Why?" she whispered, the word escaping like a breath of frost. "Why are you doing this?" "Because you left me," the childish voice echoed once more, dripping with both innocence and malice. Jenna spun around, desperation clawing at her chest. Across the room, she saw it, the figure had come closer, stepping into the feeble glow of the light. The child's face was transformed, where there had once been just hollowness, now anger twisted the features. The mouth curled into a smirk too wide, and the eyes bore into her, blacker than the night. "I was waiting to play again. To play forever." "No!" Jenna retorted, shaking her head violently. "This isn't a game. It can't be." Her body trembled as she thought of the weight of her past, the guilt she had buried deep. The child's laughter erupted, echoing through the suffocating atmosphere, warping her own memories and turning them inside out. Jenna pressed her hands to her ears, wishing to drown it out, but the sounds only intensified, drowning her in a torrent of grief and regret. "Mommy, let us go home." The voice changed, innocent yet tainted, and a pang of nostalgia flickered in her heart. "It is home," Jenna cried, the walls of the house thrumming with her words. And just like that, an image flashed before her. A backyard, a sandbox, the sun shining bright, drawing memories of simpler times. The laughter of a child, warm, full of life. But it all changed again, the scene shattering like glass. She saw the truth in a flash. What she had thought was safety was false, a haunting that refused to let go. The child's form was drawn back, the shadows swirling, and Jenna felt as if she were being tugged from both sides. "Jenna," the voice called again. This time, there was an urgency, a need buried deep underneath the mockery. "You have to remember, or it will consume you." "Remember what?" she shouted, feeling the weight of both past and present crash on her. "What truth?" The room darkened again, shadows crawling out of the corners and swallowing the light. All at once, her own memories began to unravel, the twisted threads of her life revealing the unspeakable. Jenna felt her heart racing, choked by mounting dread as the figures began to emerge, memories not of laughter, but of loss and betrayal. The shadows shifted again, looming over her with an insatiable hunger. "Find it before it's too late." The last words echoed as the laughter faded, dragging the darkness with it. Jenna gasped, her own breaths choppy as the ground beneath her swayed. She knew whatever truth lay hidden would come at a steep price, a confrontation with what she had tried so hard to forget. The question hung thick in the air: could she face it now? A flicker of hope ignited in her soul. There was still a chance. But would she be strong enough to uncover the truth before the shadows claimed her for good? As darkness loomed near, Jenna felt the tug of something deeper within her. The truth was out there, lurking, waiting. What if it wasn't only her memories that threatened her? What if the shadows were linked to something far more sinister? Jenna blinked, desperate to regain her grip. The reality around her felt like sand slipping through her fingers. The shadows clawed at her, pulling her toward a sinister fate, taunting her with their wicked whispers. "Find it before it's too late." The words reverberated in her mind, an insistent, haunting melody. She had no choice now. The only way through the suffocating darkness was forward. Her heart raced as she began to wander deeper into the transformed room. Each step felt heavy, like wading through quicksand. "Why are you afraid?" the child's voice chirped, now flitting about the cluttered space. "Let us play forever." The laughter, once innocent, now threaded with malice, echoed in the recesses of her brain. Jenna's skin crawled. She shot a desperate glance toward the broken mirror, her own reflection splintered in 1,000 pieces. Each shard seemed to contain a twisted memory, a fragment of the truth she was seeking. "Face it," she muttered to herself, forcing her legs to move. She approached the mirror, shards glimmering like shards of glass scattered across her heart. "Do you see them?" the twisted child's voice taunted, now coming from everywhere and nowhere. "They're waiting for you to remember, waiting to play." Jenna froze. Images sprang forth, vivid and jarring, each more painful than the last. Faces flickered in rapid succession, her sister's laughter, a piece she thought she had guarded, and then crimson-stained terror. The last breath, the last scream. Shaking violently, she pressed her palm against the glass, as if it could provide solace. "Get out of my head," she cried, tears streaming down her face. But it only fueled the shadows, their laughter morphing into wicked growls. She turned to the candles that flickered on the table, their light wavering under the pressure of darkness. A sudden thought gripped her. Was it a truth or a deception? "I have to remember to break free," she whispered, her voice trembling. With renewed determination, Jenna willed herself to confront the nightmare. She took a deep breath and began recalling every moment. The last family gathering, their smiles, then that awful night. The phone call that shattered everything, the silence that ensued, and the unbearable weight of guilt. "Mommy, please come home," the child's voice echoed, more hauntingly than before. "I'm here," Jenna replied, her voice now steady, striking against the chaos. "I never left you, I never wanted to." The shadows recoiled, the child's laughter dimming. She could feel the shifting weight of secrets slipping into her grasp. Memories tumbled like a cascade, and suddenly, everything that had once felt hidden began to converge. "No!" A voice, a memory of her sister, a chilling reminder, roared in the depths. "You're not allowed to go back there. Not again." Jenna felt herself being sucked into a deep well of darkness. "I have to," she screamed, pushing against the engulfing shadows. "I have to remember." The moment she faced her sister's betrayal, the truth flooded back, the accident, the blame, the shadows that stretched over their family like a dark belt of pain. The room exploded around her, memories converging into a whirlwind of chaos. The child's figure twisted, morphing into her sister's face, eyes wide with pain and regret, breathing life into Jenna's histories. "I'm so sorry." Jenna howled, the weight of the last words echoing off the scribbled walls. As the final remnants of laughter faded into a soft, eerie silence, Jenna felt the sting of the memories cutting through her. She felt illuminated but not whole. The darkness drew closer, and Jenna braced herself. If this was the truth, raw and unfettered, what would come next? Her very existence hung in the balance, the shadows still hungry. "Can you trust me?" The child's voice rang out again, so close yet so distant. A chilling proposal hung in the air. "Trust." Jenna shouted back at the encroaching shadows. "What does trust mean in here?" Her heart pounded as a new figure emerged, its form shifting from darkness to light. An unbidden hope wavered before her. Whatever happened next hinged on her answer. Would she dare to step forward, to stake her claim on the truth and face the shadow that awaited? The room trembled, and Jenna knew one thing above all else: the shadows had barely begun to reveal their truths, and time was about to run out. Jenna felt the weight of the question suffocating her. "Can you trust me?" The child's voice hung in the air, twisted and sweet like overripe fruit. Shadows danced on the periphery, beckoning her deeper into a void that seemed both magnetic and malignant. "Trust," she whispered, each syllable inscribed in trembling uncertainty. Ahead, the new figure emerged from the gloom, a flickering silhouette cloaked in an ethereal glow. As it brightened, Jenna's heart quickened. Hope? Or another trap? The shape morphed before her, revealing a woman tall, graceful, yet so familiar. Her sister Madison. "Jenna, you have to remember," she urged, urgency knitting her brow. "You can't let them take you again." Madison? The name felt foreign on her tongue, lost in lost years. "Why are you here?" "I've always been here," Madison insisted, her voice raspy with emotion. "In the shadows with you. You have to confront your fear. They need you to keep running, keep hiding." The shadows flared at the mention of fear, swirling with an angry hiss. Jenna's gut twisted. They thrived on her hesitation. "What do you mean?" she stammered, the room narrowing with each heartbeat, an electric charge of dread crackling in the air. Madison reached out, her hand shimmering like starlight. "You must face the truth, Jenna. It's the only way. Otherwise," she bit her lip, glancing around as if shadows were descending to engulf her too. "They will consume us both." Who are they?" Jenna's pulse thundered in her ears, thrumming with desperation to understand the chaos. A gnawing instinct warned her to brace for a truth sprawling beyond reason. "The shadows, they are the echoes of what we fear the most. You must confront the child you abandoned, the memories buried beneath guilt we can't shake." Madison's words felt like ice slicing into Jenna's spirit, awakening an old wound. Suddenly, the room trembled violently, the walls pulsating with negative energy. The mirrors cracked like thunder, birthing hundreds of Jenna's reflections, each one contorted with grief, anger, and loss. "Remember," they hissed, voices merging into a cacophony, each syllable digging deeper. "I don't want to." Jenna cried, falling to her knees amidst the chaos. I can't bear it. With each memory summoned, pieces of her heart shattered further. The twisted laughter of her childhood echoed menacingly, colliding with her reality like crashing waves. Faces morphed into grotesque caricatures of those she loved, writhing in agony around her, flickering like a faulty bulb. Jenna ripped at her hair, feeling perilously close to a cliff of madness. No! Madison's voice cut through the din. You have to take the leap, Jenna. Only then will you be free. With every ounce of willpower, Jenna pushed herself to stand once more. The gravity of her sister's plea pulled on her heartstrings. What if I can't? She pleaded, doubt clawing at her throat. You must trust yourself, Madison urged, eyes locking onto Jenna's with fierce intensity. Face them. The memories, the guilt, your deepest fear. Only by owning it can you escape this cycle. A deafening roar enveloped Jenna, shadows sharpening around her as if sensing her wavering resolve. Take control, Jenna. Madison shouted, her voice echoing within the turmoil. Jenna inhaled deeply, feeling clarity pierce the blanket of shadow. I choose to remember. I have to. Shaking, every fiber in her being aligned toward reckoning with her past. As the shadows lunged forward, Jenna steeled herself against their pull. You want to take me? She screamed, thrusting her palm against a nearby mirror, her reflection awaiting boldness. The sky darkened, filled with a tumult of swirling black, hurtling toward her. What happens now? She gasped, eyes wide in anticipation and fear. Would she vanquish the quaint horror of her memories or become one of the lost echoes? The room echoed with a chilling silence that wrapped around her a promise of unknown revelations looming. Time stilled, and Jenna felt a shift, as if everything was about to unravel or consolidate into something fiercely new, and at that moment, she realized the shadows weren't merely figments of her mind, they were the very essence of her past seeking to claim her once more. Could she truly confront them and emerge whole on the other side? With a trembling heart and fortified courage, she faced what lay ahead, knowing not whether liberation or damnation awaited. The shadows crashed against Jenna like a wave, their icy tendrils wrapping around her wrists, dragging her toward the mirror. Her chest tightened, breath caught in a cycle of panic. Every whisper from the remnants of her past grew louder, drowning out her thoughts, pulsing like an angry tide of regret. Let me go. I want to let you take me. Jenna fought back, her voice barely recognizable, strained with desperation. She pressed her hands against the cool surface of the mirror, feeling the frantic beat of her heart sink with the relentless energy crashing around her. Madison's figure flickered, a shimmering apparition amidst the chaos. Jenna, listen. You have the power. You can break free. Her words pierced through the shadows, illuminating a path just beyond the chaos. But could Jenna take that leap? As if responding to Madison's plea, each reflection of Jenna twisted and convulsed, their pain mirroring her own. Faces she thought she had buried surfaced, eyes filled with heartbreak and accusation, mouths frozen in silent screams. Why did you leave us? One reflection mouthed, the voice distinct, laced with the sorrow of a child abandoned. Jenna was hit with a wave of déjà vu, memories flooding back the child she had neglected, a past she pushed aside as if it were debris cluttering her mind. No. I can't face this. I can't. Jenna cried out, wanting to retreat, to hide in a fortress built of denial. But Madison stepped forward, her hand reaching through the veil of shadows, brimming with compassion. You must accept the truth to reclaim your life. Madison's eyes shone with determination, mirroring the fighting spirit Jenna hadn't known she still possessed. Trembling with fear, Jenna hesitated. The shadows slithered closer, vibrating with malice. She had to choose: continue the cycle of avoidance and lose everything, or confront the haunting echoes of her past. With a deafening roar, the shadows lunged again. Jenna could feel their icy breath, tasting her fear like bitter salt. I choose to remember. She shouted defiantly. She stepped forward, her heart pounding as she reached her hand out toward the mirror's surface. The instant her palm connected with the cool barrier, a shockwave surged through her. Memories surged like a tidal wave, crashing over her consciousness. She felt the weight of long-buried guilt, the tears of her younger self, raw and heavy against her heart. Remember, remember, the cries echoed around her, not just from the shadows, but from within. Each whispered word ignited a fire of realization. What she had turned away from could no longer be ignored, and then came the moment a vivid memory materialized before her like a film unraveling in slow motion. She saw a little girl, small and lost, sitting alone on a swing set under a gray sky. The child looked up, her eyes like deep wells of sorrow, searching for someone to rescue her. Jenna recoiled but stood firm, fighting the urge to dissolve into despair. "I'm sorry," she screamed, words spilling out, raw and unfiltered. "I was wrong. I thought I was protecting you." The child's gaze transformed from despair to fury. "You didn't protect me. You abandoned me." The shadows writhing around Jenna seized upon the moment, their grip tightening like a noose. She felt panic flare within her, a fight-or-flight instinct warring with the desire to face the pain head-on. "Take control, Jenna," Madison urged once again. Pulling strength from her sister's words, Jenna steadied herself. She had to own her fear, not drown in it. With intentionality, she acknowledged the girl on the swing, her younger self. "I'm here now. I want to leave you not again." Her focus sharpened, energy surged through her as pockets of darkness rippled away. The shadows began to shriek as Jenna held her ground, battling to rewrite her narrative, but then, just as the tide was turning, the shadows reared back with a fury that amplified into a deafening roar. Jenna braced herself, uncertain whether she'd gain her freedom or be swallowed whole. In that moment of chaos, Jenna caught a glimpse of something shifting within. The depths. A familiar face, flickering like flame against the shadows. Her heart stopped. Madison? Was she losing her sister too, or was this a final plea for help? As Jenna's world spun, one undeniable truth emerged: she had begun to confront the past, but now it seemed her fight was far from over. What awaited in that veil of swirling darkness, and could she save herself before it consumed her completely? Jenna stood at the edge of the chasm, pulled between the darkness that wanted to swallow her whole and the flickering light of truth fighting to shine through. The air crackled with tension, shadows writhing like living beings, hell-bent on dragging her back into the abyss where her fears resided. Madison's form shimmered like a ghost in the corner of her eye. "You can do this, Jenna. Don't let them win." Rage burned deep within Jenna, igniting the need to reclaim her identity. "I'm done running from you," she cried, her voice steady despite the icy grip of fear wrapping tighter around her throat. "You don't own me anymore." The shadows convulsed, recoiling as if struck. Flashes of memory danced before her, vivid yet terrifying, laughter filled with innocence, but twisted by the pain of abandonment. "Remember," a chorus of whispers beckoned, each haunting echo promising both terror and freedom. She could feel the weight of those memories, the sorrow she had suppressed, clawing to be acknowledged. In a burst of defiance, Jenna stepped forth. "I'm not scared of you," she shouted, heart racing. The shadows surged toward her, but she held her ground, fists clenched at her sides, drawing strength from the pain she had endured, transforming it into a shield against their malevolence. "You're just echoes of the past. You can't hurt me anymore." The air thickened, darkness swirling around her like a storm. "Say it." The shadows hissed, taunting. "Say you don't want to remember." "I want to remember." Jenna roared back, her voice piercing through the chaos. "I want to face everything I've been running from." With each word, she felt the shadows waver. The silhouettes of her memories flickered, twisting between the tragic and the so-called safety she had locked away. She could feel the fragile thread connecting her to Madison, holding her steady. Madison stepped forward, her ethereal glow intensifying against the encroaching darkness. "Yes, Jenna. Embrace who you are." Embrace who we were. Jenna inhaled deeply, each breath becoming her battle cry. I embrace it all. The laughter, the love, the pain. She could feel the energy resetting, shifting, each affirmation scattering the shadows, twisting their forms until they began to fray and unravel. I'm here for you, little girl. She called out, forcing herself to look at the lost child in the swings, the one that had echoed through her heart for so long. We're going to be okay. With one powerful gesture, she reached out, pulling the child and all her memories into herself. The shadows screamed, their wails echoing off the walls, the cacophony of grief and regret pushing against her like a tidal wave. But Jenna stood firm. The dark grip loosened, flickering like a dying flame as she poured every ounce of regret and sorrow into accepting what had happened. She absorbed the memories, holding them tight, reclaiming them piece by piece. Tears streamed down her face as pain morphed into clarity. The light around her brightened, illuminating the twisted walls. The laughter of the child shifted, wavering between echoes of lost innocence and burgeoning hope. You're free, we are free, Jenna whispered, her heart swelling against an impending triumph over what haunted her. In that moment, she let the pain turn to power, no longer afraid. Suddenly, an explosion of brightness erupted. The shadows shrieked in defeat, dispersing into wisps of smoke as the room around her transformed. The childhood swing set emerged like a reformation, vibrant colors glowing against a clear blue sky. Laughter intertwined with the breeze, familiar and sweet. All the heaviness that had once lingered felt released. The child on the swing, innocent, at last smiled up at her. You came back, Mommy. I will always come back, Jenna vowed, kneeling down to embrace the little girl. The warmth filled her heart. Together, they shared a moment of new beginnings, the innocence woven into their connection returning like light chasing away the darkness. Madison stood nearby, her presence radiant with resolve. You did it, Jenna. You faced the shadows and won. Her sister's pride glowed as brightly as the sunlight beaming down, illuminating everything around them. Jenna felt a warmth pulse through her, the acceptance of memory wrapped in love and understanding. We'll remember together, she promised, turning to Madison. Together. Shadows no longer divided them, they were intertwined, bound in love strong enough to chase away the dark, and just like that, the echo of a child's laughter flitted on the breeze, weaving their stories together, richer than before. Jenna embraced both the past and the future, unafraid and empowered at last. Now that Jenna had faced the darkness, a new chapter awaited her. But this time, she wouldn't be alone. As the warmth of the sun enveloped them, Jenna knew it was time to step forward, onto a path of healing and hope. She turned towards Madison, eyes gleaming. Together, they walked into the bright horizon, ready to embrace the life ahead, filled with love, truth, and a joy that would not fade. This was not just survival, this was living. Don't let this journey end here. You need to subscribe now to catch even more exclusive stories that will captivate and inspire you. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help spread the word. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about Jenna's experience, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this epic conclusion. Together, we'll uncover more amazing tales.